welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a shortcut to getting well informed about a really foundational industry. Printed circuit boards, PCBs, they power almost everything.
They really do.
Our mission, to unpack the key insights from this Global PCB Market Report Industry Insights Q3 2024 that you provided.
Right.
We'll look at the trends, the surprising costs involved, and some of the cool new tech-driving demand. Okay, let's dig into this. It seems like a bit of a paradox, actually.
Yeah.
So let's start with that big picture. The report seems to show growth, but also some serious challenges. What's the overall health, the vibe of the global PCB market right now?
Well, what's really fascinating, I think, is just how resilient the market is proving to be, despite some pretty significant headwinds, PCB revenue shows really strong growth. It's up, to get this, 6.8% year over year.
Wow.
And 5.7% just quarter over quarter. The forecast for all of 2024 looks equally strong. They're projecting 5.5% increase in value, 6.6% in volume. So this isn't just like marginal growth. It really underlines how essential PCBs are pretty much everywhere. Demand seems quite inelastic, you could say.
Right, essential.
Yeah.
So a healthy market on paper, but that growth must be bumping up against those challenges you mentioned, especially costs. I've heard things about commodity prices, logistics, pretty dramatic shifts.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, dramatic. It's a good word. While we saw some brief dips like early in Q3 2024, commodity prices for the key stuff, copper foil, laminates, they're expected to climb again for the rest of the year. Take copper foil. Even with a recent 7% dip from Q2, it's still up 8.5% compared to last year.
Right.
But honestly, connect that to the bigger picture, and logistics costs are just, well, they're soaring. Container freight prices up an incredible 206% year over year.
206%. That's astronomical for logistics. That must be putting just immense pressure on manufacturers, on their margins.
Exactly.
What's specifically driving a jump that massive? And how are companies even coping?
You're absolutely right. It's a huge burden. These jumps, they're mainly driven by a few things. Persistent port congestion, backlogs.
Right.
Some severe weather events in key shipping regions, and significantly geopolitical tensions. Things like the situation in the Middle East, forcing ships to divert around the Red Sea.
Long reroutes.
Exactly. Much longer transit times. It creates capacity shortages, and it leads to these huge surcharges. We're talking sometimes up to 60% extra on top of the base rates.
60% surcharges. Wow.
So yeah, it's not just a cost headache. It's actually forcing businesses to fundamentally rethink their global supply chains, their reliance maybe on single routes or faraway manufacturing.
Okay, so it really sounds like a tough environment. You've got soaring costs, these complex supply chain issues, yet, like you said, the market's still growing.
Yeah.
So who is buying all these PCBs, even with the higher costs? Where's all this demand actually coming from?
Well, the overall electronics market itself is projected for a pretty strong surge in 2024, about 4.2%. Now, some sectors like, say, automotive and wireless infrastructure, they're forecasted to dip slightly. But other areas are incredibly resilient. They're driving significant demand. Military and aerospace, for instance, up a really remarkable 24% for 2024.
24%.
Yeah, likely driven by, renewed global defense spending, space initiatives, that sort of thing. And then server and data storage, that's seeing big growth too, 8.1%.
Right.
And that's specifically fueled by the AI infrastructure boom. AI itself is just exploding, up 23.3%.
Well, right. Every AI advance needs more hardware.
Precisely. Every breakthrough seems to translate directly into demand for more powerful, complex PCBs. Oh, and medical electronics are also performing very strongly.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Beyond just supporting these booming sectors, the industry is always looking ahead, right? What new PCB tech or maybe trends are kind of signaling where things are going next?
AI is definitely, unequivocally, a huge driver. It's fueling demand for these incredibly complex boards like 18-plus multi-layer PCBs for the big AI servers.
Right.
Boards designed to handle just immense data flows, huge power needs, and also high-density interconnect PCBs HDI for AI edge devices, packing more power into smaller spaces.
Makes sense.
We're also seeing growth in specialized areas, things like PCB cameras, projected to grow 17% by 2027, high-power boards for EVs, for solar energy, that whole electrification shift. And what I find particularly interesting, there's this noted emergence of recyclable PCBs appearing on the horizon.
Ah, recyclable PCBs. That feels like a potentially big development, the sustainability angle. Now, speaking of global stuff, the report also mentioned China still dominates production, right? Over 53%.
That's correct. Yeah, Asia's dominance is clear, and China holds the lion's share.
So while that brings scale, maybe, what are the risks, the potential vulnerabilities in having production so concentrated, especially with those geopolitical issues we talked about?
That's a really excellent question. China's dominance, yes, it brings efficiencies, a mature ecosystem, which benefits everyone, globally speaking.
Right.
But, like you said, it does introduce geopolitical risk. We saw that with the Red Sea diversions impacting routes. The report doesn't explicitly detail, say, massive diversification efforts underway yet,
Okay.
but these ongoing supply chain disruptions, they're absolutely forcing companies to look hard at strategies like China Plus One, or maybe even reshoring some production, though that's a very long-term, very capital-intensive kind of shift.
A complex balancing act, then.
Definitely. Cost, capacity, resilience. The industry's constantly trying to navigate that balance.
So bringing it all together, what does this mean for you, our listener, trying to understand this really vital industry?
Well, I think this deep dive shows a PCB market that's incredibly dynamic, but also remarkably resilient. Despite these really significant cost pressures from logistics, from commodities, the sector is still seeing robust growth. And it's being propelled by this relentless demand from electronics, especially AI, specialized applications. The industry isn't just growing, it's really transforming, adapting to new tech and global challenges.
So here's a final thought maybe for you to consider. As this demand for really high-performance, super complex PCBs keeps surging, how is the industry going to balance that drive for more tech integration with, well, the growing calls for sustainability, like the development of those recyclable PCBs we mentioned? It's a fascinating tension, I think, to watch unfold.